So, I think like a year ago, I made a very disgusting, how I draw video, and, it's very concerning. So, I'm gonna redo that, because, yikes, I don't draw like that anymore. But yeah, it very desperately needs to be remade, so that's what this video is. Remaking that, because it's disgusting, and I don't draw like that anymore, and don't watch it, please. It will not help you at all, so please. I do need to mention what brushes I use. So on Krita, there are, I think, 4 different brushes I use. There's a sketch brush, which is like a blue one. It's a pencil 1 sketch. I use that to make all of my sketches and the rough version of line art that I do. And then under that, when I color, I will use the basic 4-flow opacity brush and hold it down with like the maximum amount of opacity, I guess, so that way I get the actual color. And then shading will be done with that same brush. And then I use 2 blending. I use the blender basic and the blender blur. I use a mix of those depending on what I'm doing for my highlights and my shadows. And then I use quite a few for the backgrounds. So the first thing I do when I start making a drawing is I will pick a reference, and in this speed paint specifically, I picked an African wild dog because I'm drawing Jack from Lord of the Freaks. Just kidding. Lord of the Flies. Anyway, what I'll do is I will pick a reference, and then I'll make a sketch over it to make sure my anatomy is all correct. So after I've done that, I will then like hide it so that it's not visible, and then I will make a bunch of revisions to it. If I feel like any of the anatomy is still off, I will fix that. After that, I will go straight into coloring. I used to do a lot of just straight up line art, but I really don't do that anymore. So instead, I color right under the sketch layer because I feel like leaving just the sketch layer adds more, I guess, definition and depth to it. I will color right under the sketch, and I will take my base color. I will go right under the sketch, and then I will outline it, and then use the fill bucket tool to fill it in. I will then take my first marking color and draw where all of those markings are. For example, on his Phineas and Ferb looking hair, I will draw the red hair on there, and then I will add his eyebrows and the fur on the back of his neck. And then I'll take the brown color and add it to the inside of his ears and his nose, and then so on and so forth. Once I have all of those colors laid out, I will take a lighter orange toned color for lighting, and I will make a more generalized spot with a less visible version of the lighting color. Then I will go in with a little bit more visible, and I will blend that less. And then I will take an even lighter color with even more opacity, so it's more visible. And I will blend that very little to add almost like a water droplet kind of shine. And then I will repeat that process over pretty much the entire thing, except for on the insides of the ears, which get a basic lighting blended. And I do the same process for the lighting and the shading. I just use less defined colors for the shading, and I do blend it a little more harshly. So after I've done that, I will add additional highlights and shadows if I feel like they're needed, but I don't always do that. For backgrounds, I'll usually start with a base color or a base gradient, and then I took a rock brush and blurred the rocks over that. So for the fire, I will take just a basic brush, and then I will outline the fire with the orange color, and then I will fill that in with a bucket tool. I added lens blur to them, and then I did the same thing for the trees. I drew them and then blurred them, and then I added flames to the falling one, and that's pretty much how I do my backgrounds. And then I'll take the light and the shadow colors again, and then I will do a like basic fading gradient over them, and then I will lower the opacity a bunch. And then to finish it off, I will take both my coloring layer and my sketching layer, and I will duplicate them, and then I will add a little bit of blur, and then I will lower the opacity so it gives it a softer look. And then I'll just add my signature, and then I'm done. I hope this was helpful. I guess comment if you have any other questions. But yeah, that's basically my entire process and all the brushes I use and whatnot. Thanks for watching. Bye, I guess.